All right, welcome back to Market on Close. Let's divert from all the Fed and the earnings talk for a moment. Let's have some fun and hit some crypto. Scott Bauer is with us, our go-to guy to talk a little digital asset trading. Mr. Bauer is the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Scott, good to see you. Hopefully you're staying warm here in Chicago down there in the pits. Hope they got the heat on. Hey, let's talk some Bitcoin. Getting problematic as it continues to kind of weaken up. What's going on?
It certainly is not looking good here, and you know, for the most part, outside of the announcement last week that the latest run at an ETF was going to be taken off the table or stalled or whatever it was, there's really no impetus for this thing to go higher, Oliver. There's been no sort of positivity. Now, there hasn't been a lot of negativity either outside of a JP Morgan analyst coming out and saying, this is going to 1,200, which not a good thing, but it's really stayed out of the news. But these consolidations that we've seen over the last 6 to 9 months, and you and I have talked about it all the time, they seem to always set up towards a move to the downside. Now, technically, when you look at the charts, if you can, technically look at this, Bitcoin is in an oversold pattern right now, but that doesn't seem to make a difference. Yeah.
Hey, do you look at these like long-term moving average, situations? I think one I saw circulating was like a 200 week or something that was right around 34 or 35, and people said, hey, if it breaks below this. I mean, do you look at that type of stuff, Scott, when you talk oversold? What are you sort of just looking at? RSI, for example?
Yeah, RSI and a little bit of the longer term. Typically in an equity, I like to look at the 50 and the 200 day. That obviously really doesn't make sense to do with Bitcoin. So you have to look at something a little bit longer. But yeah, you're right. You look at RSI and you look at those longer term technical levels there. But again, these consolidations have not, at least in the last 6 months, worked out well for Bitcoin.
So are you trading it, Scott? Do you want to use futures? Is that market liquid enough right now if you want to get exposure either way to Bitcoin?
It is liquid enough, even though volume is off, and I think today's volume here at the CME somewhere around 2,500 contracts, which is not a lot. They average about 4,000. It is liquid enough to trade it. I have not dipped back into the Bitcoin arena in the last few weeks. As we discussed last time, I've been trading some Ethereum because to me that has been the easier, just the trade, not an investment. That has been the easier trade.
Yeah. Scott, is there, the way I've kind of described it, and there we see the volume that is tapered off. I mean, the way I describe it is unless there's some big event, whether it's an ETF or whether it is just some development on the technical side that encourages people to start using it and actually adopting it, then the gravity seems to continue to be in one direction essentially, because until that happens, these miners just keep losing money, and every time we get to a new level, they've different ones fold shop. The ones that could survive at 6 can't survive at 4, and so on and so forth.
No, that's a great point, and that really is going to be the catalyst, whether that's a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, is if and when this can be adopted into the mainstream. Whether you get a company like a Square or a PayPal or whomever else that may be able to adopt this into their mainstream. With the ETF issue kind of off the table and in the rearview mirror for now, I just don't know what else is out there from a headline standpoint that would really capture people's interest again, to light that spark to get this thing going again.
Yeah. Is there any analogous play? I mean, have we given up on the blockchain companies and stuff too? Is the stock market read through on this market dead as well for now?
No, I think some of the blockchain companies, you can still trade. Again, looking at it as an investment. I'm not looking at it as an investment, but some of these companies are definitely tradable and more liquid than going in and actually trading the crypto itself.
Okay, one other point here, just because the severity of the moves in Bitcoin, I would imagine from a trading perspective, Scott, offers some opportunity. Guys, bring up the chart again just to show how after that sideways 6K move, I mean, if you had downside exposure, then you felt great because it moved so quickly and so just, powerfully to the downside. Do you see something like that happening again if this latest horizontal move also fails?
I wouldn't keep it out of the question. Now, I think that being at 3,400 is much different than that consolidation we saw at 6,000 for a couple reasons. A, just the psychological end of it, that it's less expensive, but B, from that technical standpoint, this is an area of consolidation. This is an area that people can point to some analytics, some technicals. There's really no fundamentals there, as an area that could be some support where, when we were at 6,000 and we hovered there for such a long time, it really just consolidated there for no other reason than maybe a lack of interest. So here, I don't know that I see the big precipitous drop from here. If anything, I would see just a very slow, steady grind to the downside.
Yeah. All right, Scott, good stuff. We will keep it to the classics next time around. Mr. Bauer, thanks for talking some Bitcoin with us today. You got it. Scott's CEO.
Stay warm.
Yes, sir. Thanks to Scott, as always. He's the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy.